Hello library peeps, welcome to our virtual craft programming series called Craft-Alongs. For those of you who don't know, my name is Rosalie and I tend to lead the programs that are created for adults. So that's what we're going to be doing today, is a craft that's very adult oriented, but if you have little ones that you think would like to enjoy doing this too, or you want to do it together, please feel free. The amount of supplies that I am going to be using is going to be really small and mess-free, but we'll talk about substitutions and stuff like that later. So what we're going to be doing today is using this book that you can get at the library. It's called Supercraft, and it has 52 different ideas for bringing little pops of color into your life and for decorating. So I think color is really important to elicit joy, and joy is something that we all really need right now. So that's what we're going to be working with today. The craft that we're going to be making today is this mobile. It involves real flowers, and it involves basically a lot of things that we can modify, and that's what we're going to do. So first I'm going to tell you the items that I'm using, and then we'll talk about substitutions as we go through the craft. So I'm going to be using the inside of an embroidery hoop. This is an 18-inch embroidery hoop circumference, and it's nice and small enough to scale down this project so that I can hang it up in a window. We're going to be using this guy for our hoop. We'll be using little camera cartridge canisters. You see in the book they use long glass test tubes, and the room of requirement failed me. We do not have those at the library, but we did have these, so I'm going to be modifying it, and I think it's going to work a little bit better with the scale of what I'm going for anyway. And that's part of the point. I'm using supplies I only could find at the library or in my home office so that it was more true to life to what you'll probably be experiencing too. You also need different washi tape. I am picking colors that I like. Got teals and purples. You can pick 2 colors, you can pick 5, it doesn't really matter, it's really what you like. I just tend to like 2 because I'm boring, but if you want to use more, please feel free. You'll need embroidery floss, and this is going to be to tie up the canisters and to tie the mobile. And then tools are going to be scissors, measuring tape, and an Xacto knife. You can eyeball this or you can measure it, but you want to gauge how many canisters you want to use for this, or jars. It's going to depend on what kind of hoop you use too. If you don't have embroidery hoops, but you have like a child-size hula hoop, or you have some kind of wire that you could turn into a hoop, really whatever you want to use that is round in some way. That's going to change the scale of what you create, and that is fine. For this scale, it seems about 7 of these little canisters are going to work perfect for it. First thing you do, now that you have your item, you decorate it, because we don't want it to just look like wood. We are going to be using this washi tape. Make sure you start at a slight angle, about that much, and then you can just start wrapping it. And just make sure it's on there pretty tight. Washi tape needs a pretty good connection in order to stick properly, so just take your time. If you are using wood and you don't have any washi tape but you have paint, that is also an option. So I'm going to be decorating the canisters next with a little bit of washi tape, just like this. If you're using a different canister, that's fine. Washi tape will still work. If you're using paint, you might make sure that your canister can take that paint. Especially if it's glass, you might instead tint some Mod Podge, or make sure you have some kind of sealant for afterward. That's part of the reason why I did this. You don't have to worry about drying time or anything like that. You just wrap it. It takes like, I want to say it's taken me about 20 minutes, and then you're done. You're done with decorating everything about this part of the craft. So just make sure to press down really nice and evenly as you're going. And last thing, if you're using the washi, just make sure once you are to the end, which we almost are, that you end it on the inside of the hoop, just so none of the rough edges are visible. Because I know you can use scissors or anything really to cut it, but I am lazy and I'm using my nails, so we are going to just make sure that nobody can see that afterwards. There we go. And done. So, now that we have our hoop nice and decorated, we're going to decorate these little canisters. Put in the holes that you're going to need for tying it up onto the hoop. So you can eyeball this, or you can use a ruler and make sure that it's exactly straight across. We're going to be poking in the Xacto knife, and then you twist. Yes, this will ruin your blade after a while, but if you prefer to make sure it's exact, measure one from the other, put in one hole, measure it to the other side, and then just mark it with a dot. You're going to cover it up with washi tape anyway, so it'll be fine. Now, once you have your holes made, nice and simple, you don't have to worry about them being visible because we're going to hide that with washi tape. So when you meet your washi tape, as you can see with this guy, if it overlaps, you can kind of tell, and that can be something that you use to your advantage, honestly. So what we're going to do is make sure to start our washi tape on the side that has the hole, like basically right on top of the hole, and make sure that you end there too. I'm trying to be very even and get that nice and straight. You don't have to. You can put squiggly lines, you can cover it further if you like. I'm only doing a few lines of it, but you can do as much as you want. You can cover the whole thing in washi tape if you want. So we've got our top in that pretty green, and then we're going to use this purple for the bottom edge. And make sure to line it up, make it look more even, and it will make it easier to hide later. Okay, so I'm just going to add one more. This pretty little light purple. I'm going to add a line of that in the sort of center. Again, just make sure you're starting at the same point. I'm going just an inch or so above dark purple. Make sure that your edges are on the same side of it, and that your washi tape lines up. It may be a little difficult to keep it completely straight, and that is okay as long as you line up the edges on this side. So, and then once you have the washi done, make sure to take your Xacto knife and reopen those holes just a little bit. All you gotta do is just punch it through a little. You don't need to mar it up too much. And that's it. You have your little canister done. I went ahead and prepared all of mine. So I've got 7 little canisters to go around my hoop. And then the next part you're going to do is decide what length and how you want to tie your canisters to the hoop. So what I'm going to do is stagger them. So you want to take your embroidery hoop and start measuring out exactly what you need. What I'm going to do is double it up so that it ties better to this, and I'll show you what I mean in a second. And B, I'm going to stagger it. So what I'm going to do is tell you the lengths I'm cutting it to. You can of course modify however you want. And I'm not being super exact here because nobody's going to be able to tell afterwards if you were very, very exact or not. Okay. This is a test run, which please feel free to do. If you cut your piece and you're not quite sure on that length, just go ahead and tie it onto the mobile really quick and just kind of gauge how you got it. I think that'll be okay for the first one. So we're gonna go ahead and secure that knot. Now if you're using embroidery floss, it is really silky and it can slip sometimes. So you might go ahead and put a little dot of glue wherever you tie it. And you want to make sure that these are mostly the same length going all the way down. We can adjust whatever we need to after we tie things on. So that's going to be my first one, and then I'm just going to go up in 2 inches and 2-inch increments with each one. So it's 12 inches all the way up to 24. Okay, so once you have all of your pieces cut, you're going to tie them all the way around, and we'll come back as soon as I'm done with that. So I've got all of my string tied on, and try to get it as even as possible. It's okay if it doesn't turn out that way. We're going to be cutting off any excess anyway. And you also don't have to do this staggering if you don't want to. If you want it to be perfectly even straight across, or you want it to go up and down, those are also really good options. I won't do straight across because I won't be able to get it perfect and it will drive me insane. So that's why we're doing this method to kind of hide your flaws. So next step, you're going to actually need one more tool, and it's going to be a needle to thread each end of the string through the canisters. Thread your needle first, and then thread through, and then just tie that side up. I'm just using simple knots. Everything involved in this is so light that it's not really going to need any kind of secure knots. And if you don't get it perfectly even, if it tilts just a little bit, that's fine. It's going to add to the charm. It's going to make it look a little cute and haphazard, and that's kind of the point. That is not just a disclaimer so that you don't make fun of me whenever they don't turn out even. Another thing you can use instead of embroidery floss, you can use twine, you can use fishing line. You just want to make sure that it's very thin. So we got our double knot on that one. And then I'm going to tie the other side to make it stand up just a little bit. Might be better if you have it sitting down on the table whenever you're doing this part, so you're not trying to do something that requires 3 hands. You want to go towards the inside just so that your washi doesn't get pulled out at all, because you want any unfinished edges to be kind of inside and hidden. And then just double knot it. I did not test run this, so this is our first go for me. But something I might suggest for you whenever you're doing this part is use fewer threads of the embroidery floss. Like it is usually a 6-ply kind of thread, and you can separate those out, and it might work a little bit easier for managing it and tying it and all of that fun stuff. But I've managed, and that's how it's going to hang. And it's going to look cute. So then you just cut off your excess. And that's one down. So I will come back in a few when I have them all tied on, and we'll go to the next step. Okay, so now that we have all of them tied up and they're nice and pretty and staggered, we're going to tie the last bit of floss to the top so that you can put it on a hook, essentially. So I've got about a 3-foot piece of string or floss or whatever you're using. You can also use really thin gauge wire if you want it to be extra secure. I suggest knotting it a few times because these are the ones that are going to be holding most of the weight. So you might knot 3 or 4 times. And then you're done. So this, I've made it really long so that I can reach it because I'm very short and I'm going to be hanging it up from a ceiling. But you can make this part as tall as you want. It will be really easier with thin gauge wire, but again, thread is all I had available and I'm pretty happy with it. So that's how it's gonna turn out. I'm gonna go put water and flowers in it for my garden, and then I'll show you what it looks like hung up. Okay, and there you have it. That is some roses from my garden, and that's hanging up in my office window now. It takes a little bit of finagling to get it all even and straight, but other than that, it's all said and done. So I hope you liked that video. Please like and give us a shout out. Let us know what you think in the comments. If there's any suggestions you have for making this maybe easier for newbies or for me even, please let us know in the comments below. Other than that, we'll say bye for now and we'll see you in a couple weeks.